What's up, sports geeks? It's your host here, Josh Keeney, back with another episode. Today I'm joined by Cam. Cam, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. So today we got a NFL playoffs recap and then our playoff predictions going forward. So we're going to start way back at the beginning. We're going to start with the Seattle Seahawks traveling to San Francisco. This game they disguised to look like a game it really wasn't.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with the Seahawks. Going into it, I didn't give them any chance. I thought the final score was a little bit exaggerated from how the game went. Seahawks had the lead at half, and then coming out in the second half, it just got away from them.
Yeah, what we saw is we saw the Tariq Woolen show, and he got burnt all day. And in the second half, the Seahawks offense was just well. I don't even want to blame it on the Seahawks offense. I think we should give credit to the 49ers defense. 49ers defense just obliterated them. I mean, they looked really good in the second half. And after this game, it had every single person sitting here thinking like this 49ers team should be the favorite to win it all right now.
Yeah, coming into the playoffs, they were my favorite out of the NFC. I thought they had a pretty easy road with Seahawks at home and then again at home against the Cowboys. Most likely, I mean, that is who it ended up being, but Cowboys at home, Cowboys have always kind of struggled in the playoffs. So I thought their only real game would be the NFC Championship, and that's what it's shaping out to be.
Yeah. How long has it been since the Cowboys? 30 years or something since they've made a conference
A
championship?
very, very long time.
I thought we were bad as Lions. That's even worse. Uh, yeah, so that was a good game to start it off. But the game of that day was the Chargers Jaguars game. Um, I like this. I've said this before. I think everything in the first half that could have gone wrong for the Jaguars did,
Yep.
and then everything that could have gone wrong for the Chargers in the second half did.
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously, the three picks on three straight possessions, and then he added another one before half. And I mean, Jacksonville's defense, I mean, they did pretty good. Obviously, if you're in short fieldage every single possession, you're going to give up points. But we really saw how good the Jaguars defense was in that second half when they weren't getting having to play on a short field, holding the Chargers to only 3 points in the entire second half.
Right. Yeah. As soon as they had to defend as soon as they had the entire field to defend, they shut them down. But we just saw a true Jameis Winston game out of Trevor Lawrence. Tale of two halves, though. But they look really good in the second half. I will say the Bosa penalty is a little bit confusing to me on how you lose your cool when you're 3 yards away from the sideline.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, from my perspective, I don't know what you think. I think it was a false start.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a false start. And he definitely got held a couple times
Yeah.
in that game that they missed.
Yep.
So the frustration of all that, and then obviously blowing a 27-7 lead, that also doesn't help.
7-0, right?
It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
27-0.
because they
Jags
scored
got
the touchdown. Right.
last possession. Yeah,
Yep.
27-0. But Chargers look like they just kind of shut down on offense. I do want to give more of the credit to the Jags, but I mean, just absolutely nothing out of the Chargers in the second half. You had one of the best running backs in the league this year. Austin Eckler only had 35 yards. Now, he did have 2 touchdowns on like 2 5-yard runs.
Yeah.
But then also, he was, I think, top 20 in receiving yards this year, and he had 2 catches for 8 yards. So kudos to the Jags for pretty much taking him out of the game, and especially in the second half. And for Trevor Lawrence with keeping his head in there and coming out in the second half and balling and leading that comeback.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Mike Williams being out was a huge factor in that game. Like, huge factor. I think that, you look at how Jacksonville shut them down in the second half, and it was getting after Justin Herbert, getting after him, shutting down your 5 yard ends by Keenan Allen, whatever your easy routes, right?
Yeah.
And basically saying, I dare you to beat us over top. Mike Williams is the exact receiver that would consistently beat you over top.
And they were able to bracket
mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen, and they didn't have that guy to stretch the field to kind of get that defense to kind of have to be true to the deep ball, and they were just able to pack the box and be able to take almost everything short away.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we saw in the second half. But either way, good game, great game there. And we stayed with some great games here as well. Going to Miami, they traveled to Buffalo. We saw Buffalo really struggle with a third string quarterback in Skylar Thompson. And Skylar Thompson played one of the worst NFL games I've ever seen out of a quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
what 18 of 45, I believe, for 40% passing, multiple interceptions, and just looks just terrible. I mean, there were several times where they don't get the play call in. Now, whether that's because of Skylar Thompson or whether it's because McDaniel's over there ripping his vape, I don't know which one to blame there. But either way, the Bills struggled with them, but ultimately they came out on top.
Yeah. Same thing with the Seahawks. I didn't give the Dolphins much chance at all in this game. Like we said, third string quarterback. And looking at the stats, it shouldn't have been a game. The only thing that the Miami Dolphins' best player in that game was Josh Allen, because he gave them the ball 3 times.
And one of them in the end zone.
And one of them in the end zone, and they were just able to capitalize off that. Like, the Bills had almost 200 more total yards than them in that game.
Yeah.
And won by 3.
We definitely saw the Josh Allen turnover issue very, very evident in that game. I do think that Brian Daboll is a huge factor of that. You know, if you look at when he was there last year, when he was with Buffalo, Allen limited his turnovers a ton.
Yeah,
like a ton. And Daniel Jones last year without Brian Daboll was very turnover prone. Now, Brian Daboll's with Daniel Jones, he's not turned the ball over like at all. I think he had the least amount of interceptions in the league this year.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen's back to turning the ball over. So,
and it's not even just interceptions too, because Josh Allen is our fumbles too, and Daniel Jones runs just as much as any other quarterback, and it's fumbles too. He has just, I think, like 2 or 3 on fumbles lost on the year. It's just unbelievable with how much he runs.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive. And, you know, I think we're one season away from saying, okay, this is completely Brian Daboll. You know, I'll give him 1 year of maybe it's luck, right? Maybe, you know, Allen gets hit harder than Jones, and Jones, you know, isn't throwing into double coverage as much, whatever. But next year, if it's the same way, then it's absolutely Brian Daboll's. Brian Daboll is the reasoning. But I don't really have anything else. It was a win, but not an impressive win at all from Buffalo. And we'll get more into Buffalo later. But
talking about Brian Daboll's next game, Giants versus Vikings.
Yeah, and this was almost the worst choke job out of a referee I've ever seen. This was the worst roughing the passer I've ever seen in my life. I mean, if you were to ask the referee, like, you know, I know this is very common, but like, what did you want me to do? He did perfectly what he should do. He tackled the quarterback when he was pulling him to the ground. He let go, didn't slam him into the ground, didn't put any body weight on him, and they still threw the flag. I mean, and this is something that I know is probably not popular because refs have to like there's a high demand for refs, and there's not a very high supply of them at all, or desire to be a ref. But you have got to start holding these refs accountable. I mean, a call like that makes you think somebody might have money on the game. Like, if you're calling it that, I mean, because that's blatantly not roughing the passer. I mean, when the quarterback's not even arguing for roughing the passer, you would like to think it's not going to be roughing the passer. But either way, this was a great game. Luckily, the Giants' defense were able to pull it off because that would have been a really rough way to go out. But a great game. Daniel Jones looked really good running the ball.
Yeah, he did. And even passing the ball. Had more passing yards than Kirk Cousins. Same amount of touchdowns, went 24 of 35. So it was honestly a really impressive performance by both quarterbacks. I mean, Kirk went 31 of 39 and didn't have a turnover. So just a really cleanly played game by both sides, and it was a really fun one to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely a great game. Now, I do want to say I will back up Kirk Cousins. Obviously, I'm wearing the Michigan State hat here. He went to Michigan State. I'm not a Kirk Cousins lover, but I will say on that final play, he gets a lot of hate for throwing a check down.
Yeah.
If you look at the guys, the receivers that he has, Hockenson is the only guy that's even open. Priority number one is to get the ball into somebody's hands that can get the first down. Because if you throw it into triple coverage, which Jay Jettas was triple covered, I've seen so many tweets like you have the best receiver in the NFL and you don't throw it to him with your season on the line. And it's like if you watch, and they're like, it was man coverage. He was one-on-one. It's like it was man coverage, but you had a safety help over top and linebacker help underneath. I mean, wherever he went, he had at least 2 defenders on him, if not 3. So, I will vouch for him in that. If you watch the actual play, there's absolutely nothing open. Now, I'm not saying it was a good throw. Like he could have scrambled a little bit more, but I mean, you got to do something. You got to complete a pass to start that, and he did. And he gave his guy a chance, not a very big chance, but he did give his guy.
Got to have a chance, though.
Yep. So that was a solid game, though. Other than the 49ers game, everything had been good up until this point, and the Bengals game stayed good. Early, I thought the Bengals might just wallop them, and that's kind of what I thought going into the game as well. The Ravens are with Lamar Huntley. Tyler Huntley. They're with Tyler Huntley. The Bengals had won like 8 straight at that time.
We lost Monday night this year. We lost at Baltimore this year.
No, I'm talking 8 straight in the season though.
Oh yeah.
I think they were on an 8-game win streak going into this game. And Baltimore kept it close. I mean, it required a defensive 99-yard touchdown to beat them.
Yeah, it did.
I know you're a Bengals fan. What are your opinions on that?
Obviously, when you play a division rival in the playoffs, it's going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be a chippy game. Now, I would have liked it to be a little bit more comfortable. We were Huntley going over the top away from being at home. Watching the divisional round last weekend, but found a way. That's all you have to do in rivalry games. You just have to find a way. Joe Burrow looked good, didn't turn the ball over, but it was definitely a nerve-wracking game. That's for sure. It
was definitely not a very interesting game either. I mean, it was very slow paced, very. And what we saw there as well is the Bengals' second half woes continued.
Yeah.
In that, only 6 points from their offense, right? Because you had the defensive touchdown.
Yeah, we went for 2. So technically, you got 8 points since you got the 2-point conversion. But yeah, the defensive touchdown was.
Yeah. So I mean, still some worries there with the second half woes for the Bengals' second half offense. But I mean, it's the same thing as the Bills, right? Yep. A win's a win. Yep. Just that's the name of the game, is to just move on. So. Into our last wild card game here, we had Cowboys Bucks. Brady is trying to forget about Giselle and Antonio Brown right now, and play football, and that didn't really work for him either.
Yeah, no, that game was not fun to watch. Cowboys were the better team at pretty much every position. Dak actually played really well. 25 of 33 for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tom Brady and that Bucs offense did what they almost always do. He sat back and threw the ball 66 times in the game. And yeah, they were beat at every position, and that game was never close.
No. The problem with the Bucs is you have Tom Brady, who can't throw a deep ball.
Yeah.
And you have Mike Evans, who's a deep ball receiver. So you have an elite deep ball receiver. Maybe for sure one of the best, maybe the best deep ball receiver.
Yeah.
In the NFL when it comes to routes, 25 plus yards downfield, and you have a quarterback who can't. He's got to be bottom 5 in deep ball accuracy.
Yeah.
He missed Evans at least 3 or 4 times in one game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big swing because you get a couple scores there on those, and you're going into the half at 18-7 against the Cowboys and a kicker who couldn't kick a PAT if his eyes were closed. But yeah, that was not a great game in the wild card.
I can't believe he missed 4 straight, right? He went 1 of 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep, 1 of 5. Yep, that's a career game for him.
Missed more on that game than he did the entire regular season.
Well, the funny thing is, you look at the score, you see 31-14, and you think, oh, the Cowboys scored 4 touchdowns and a field goal. No, they scored 5 touchdowns and just missed 4 extra points. But either way, Cowboys looked really good in that game. Every aspect of that game, other than Brett Maher, they looked phenomenal. Dak Prescott had a lot of haters. He shut them all up. Kudos to him. And we'll talk about here in a second what he did in the next round. But we started the divisional round off with a good game and a bad game.
Yeah.
We'll break down the bad game first. Philadelphia Eagles at the Giants. This was a classic Eagles show. We're going to run the ball for 1.5 million yards and throw the ball for what? 150.
154.
So
2 passing touchdowns though. So
yeah, but either way, the Eagles looked insanely dominant. I think the Giants overachieved to get where they got.
yeah.
And this was a little bit of the question: is how hard is it to beat a team 3 times in a row, 3 times in the same season?
Yeah.
The Giants said, well, if you're playing us, it's pretty easy. So, that game was not really. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell was leading rusher.
Kenneth Gainwell 112 and Miles Sanders had 90.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they had over 260 yards on the ground there. Yeah. So I mean, it was just a rush fest there, which is exactly what you would expect out of the Eagles when they are dominating a game.
Yeah, I wonder. We didn't get it this game. We were close, but I wonder when the last time there was 200-yard rushers on the same team
in a playoff game,
in a divisional round game.
Oh yeah, it has to be a while because I feel like it has to be a quarterback and a running back.
Yeah,
because you rarely do you see teams run running back by committees that perform that well. Yeah, because normally if you have a running back by committee and you have one guy that's hitting 100 yards, you're like, hey, okay, that's our guy for the game.
Yeah.
But either way, that game sucked. The Jaguars Chiefs game was a good game. Jaguars kind of crawled back into it. I think the Chiefs kind of won that game the entire time. It was never really a concern until the end a little bit, but Mahomes going down is a huge factor. The ankle that was nasty, it's a high ankle sprain. Chad Henne looked really good when he came in.
He did.
But he's not Patrick Mahomes. Not
no
even
one's
close.
Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, he did. I mean, 5 of 7 for 23 yards and a touchdown. Led with a touchdown drive with Mahomes going back to the locker room before half.
98-yard touchdown drive. I mean, so it was a very important touchdown drive as well because Jacksonville had a little bit of momentum.
Yep.
And
took it back from going into half.
Yeah. So that was big, but I mean, I know we're going to get into this here, but the Chiefs' future is all dependent on Patrick Mahomes' health.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, if he cannot scramble, he's gonna play. That's never a question. But I mean, I know they do love to just praise him like he's so good, which he is really good.
He is.
And there are a ton of plays that he makes that people don't make because he just scrambles.
Yeah, his ability just to extend the play before he finds someone to get open.
I think vision is something that's commonly talked about with quarterbacks and like seeing receivers get open. Yeah. He has very good vision. Obviously, you have to at that level to be elite. But he also has extremely good vision at scrambling.
Yeah.
As far as like seeing where he can move to avoid the sack and to get in a position to find somebody.
And that's somebody he found was Travis Kelce all game long.
Yeah.
14 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had a hell of a game. And obviously, so did his brother with a 38-7 win. That's almost, what did we say, over 260 yards?
Yeah, over 260 yards.
I mean, your center has to have at least some part in that. So.
A dominant weekend from the Cincy boys there.
Yeah, huge.
But either way, Chiefs move on, and we'll see how Mahomes looks this weekend. Speaking of Cincy boys, the Cincy boys got it done against the Bills.
Yep.
Joe Burrow looked excellent in this game. The Bengals pass rush looked excellent in this game. Josh Allen, in my opinion, had to have. His quarterback rating does not show how good he played. I think he actually scrambled out of a lot of sacks. He missed a lot of sacks because he scrambled. He scrambled really well.
The rushing touchdown.
Excuse me.
That whole drive. He broke 2 tackles, picked up a huge first down, and then gets a rushing touchdown after breaking a couple tackles. So, Josh Allen on the ground, really good. Josh Allen trying to throw the ball, not nearly as good.
Not that good. The issue with Diggs, I know, and there's been a lot of drama with Diggs. I know he left the locker room before most people were even back there, and then
Someone
somebody
got him.
brought him back. He basically came back and left immediately. Definitely not what you want to see if you're Josh Allen and you see your wide receiver one in the top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
That upset with you, but who knows if they can work it out. But I do think there's going to be a lot of movement this offseason with some wide receivers. I do think one that could be is T. Higgins a free agent this offseason or no?
I think so. I think he's like kind of that first round of guys we have to re-sign.
Because if he's a free agent, that's going to be very difficult for you guys to re-sign him. Not because you can't pay him enough, but he's okay. So he's got 1 more year.
1 more year.
Yep.
All right.
But not because you can't pay him enough, but because I don't know if he
Every
would
other
want.
teams will want to pay him more.
And I don't know if he would want to be a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
You're like, and as far as further advancing your career, you love your teammates, you want to win championships, but at the same time, you want to be the guy.
Yeah.
And he 1,000,000% can be the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 15 teams right now that he'd be wide receiver 1, easy.
Yep.
But
Yes, circling back on that Diggs thing, 4 catches for 35 yards in the biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
He was the 4th leading receiver on his own team, behind Khalil Shakir, Devin Singletary, and Dawson Knox.
I'd never heard of Khalil Shakir before. I mean, I'd seen him on the field, but when he caught the ball, I was like, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
For a second.
And he had Gabe Davis 1 yard behind him and Cole Beasley 2 yards behind him. So, hats off to the Bengals for bottling him up, but you still got to just scheme ways to get him the ball.
Yeah, and he also had several times where he could have had a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there was one on the first drive basically where now it is a difficult throw. He's like scrambling forward and throwing on the run while about to get hit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Diggs is wide open. I mean, it's a touchdown if you can hit him. But either way, Bengals look really good. Bills did not look great, especially at home. But Bengals look really good. Joe Burrow looked really good.
Joe Mixon had not the game of his year because he had the 4-touchdown game earlier in the season, but
he ran angry.
Yeah, he did. It was probably his second best game of the year.
Yeah, he looked really good. I'm hoping. I know you as a Bengals fan are probably okay with Mahomes not being healthy. I would love to see Mahomes healthy just so we get to see a great game.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping we get 2 great games here out of the 49ers and the Eagles as well. But speaking of the 49ers, we had them taking on the Cowboys. This was an ugly game from the start. 49ers did not look good in this game.
They didn't. And the Cowboys did look really, really good last week. So I'm not surprised that the 49ers struggled. But Dak was the reason the Cowboys lost this game.
Yeah, now I will say the exact reason why everybody thought San Francisco could win a championship is because you could have a game out of Brock Purdy like what he just gave you, and you can still win, which is exactly what they did because of your defense.
Yep.
Your defense is the best in the league, undoubtedly, and you have a quarterback that's not great but is smart, right? 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
When you don't turn the ball over and your defense is going to force turnovers,
it's hard to lose games.
Yep, it's hard to lose games. So I think San Francisco did exactly what everybody knew they could and play a miserable offensive game and still win.
Yeah.
The dangerous thing for Philly now is
can they score?
Can you score? Because San Francisco has shown that they can have a game where they light the offense up, right? Like when they play Tampa Bay and they have 35 at half. And they've also shown that they can score under 20 points in a game and still win.
Win by a touchdown.
Like if you're holding the Dallas Cowboys, who are an elite offense, right? I mean, I wouldn't say elite. They're a very good offense. You have Prescott, who's not a bad quarterback, right? He turns the ball over, but he's not terrible. You have Zeke and Pollard, which is a good running back duo.
Now, Pollard did get hurt early in that game, which
I think it was like third quarter.
I thought it was lower there than that.
Was it?
Yeah. But still, that's a huge loss because it's Zeke the whole time.
And you don't really have an explosive back.
Yeah, you don't have that kind of.
But either way, you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Dalton Schultz. You have some good pieces of that offense, and they just shut them down. Obviously, every offense you're going to face from here on out is going to be better. Eagles' offense is better, and both the Bengals and the Chiefs' offenses are better. Yep. But either way, I mean, if you hold anybody to under to 12 points in a game, you're going to win every time. But San Francisco's defense definitely showed us that they're exactly what they've been hyped up to be.
Yep.
And Bosa really didn't do anything.
Yeah, Bosa, he got bottled up, but obviously there was the lanes for the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Bosa was still getting pressures, just didn't get any sacks in that game. But the one thing with the 49ers is in both playoff games, the wide receiver one has had huge games.
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb in this game had 10 catches for 117 yards. And then against the Seahawks,
DK went off.
DK did. He had 10 catches, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that is something, because these wide receiver ones that they're going to be playing are pretty good.
Yeah.
You got A.J. Brown. I don't know about the Chiefs. I mean, obviously Kelsey, but
I don't think Juju would really do much.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that he wouldn't do much, but he wouldn't have. He's not the level of CD, DK, AJ Brown, Jamar.
Yeah.
But if you have to play the Bengals, Jamar is gonna have a heyday.
Yeah, he is.
But either way, we have. I think probably the 4 best teams in football. Maybe if you wanted to put the Bills in instead of like the Eagles, I wouldn't, but I could understand if somebody wanted to.
Yeah.
But we have I think the 4 best teams in football in our conference championship, which is awesome. We have on Sunday we have the 49ers Eagles, and then Sunday night we have the Bengals Chiefs. How do you think these go?
I think the 49ers win a very gritty game. I think the Eagles are able to run the ball not nearly as well in this game. I do think A.J. Brown's going to have a big game. I think he'll probably surpass that 100-yard mark. But I think the 49ers' weapons and Purdy's ability to get the ball to them without turning over the ball, I think that's going to be the deciding factor. I think the 49ers win by like 3 to 7 points.
I'm going to say like a 23-17 is what I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
For this game, I don't think it's going to be high scoring. But I do think the 49ers come out on top here as well. Going to the Bengals game, obviously everything here is completely subjective to Patrick Mahomes' health.
Yeah.
And it's not just is he going to play or is he not going to play, because if it's something like, a concussion, okay, cool. Are you going to play or you're not going to play? But if you're playing, you're pretty much 100%.
Yeah.
Close to 100%. If you should be playing, you're 100%. With an ankle, especially the way Patrick Mahomes plays, if he can only scramble at 80%, he's going to have a tough time.
Yeah. Or even if his ability to use his legs, we were talking about that, to to extend the play until his guys get open, is what makes him so much like that next level on everyone else. And if he's not able to do that this game, then they can be in trouble on offense.
Absolutely. And the thing is that their offense kind of revolves around that as well. They have a decent offensive line, but definitely nothing elite. And their receivers are very good at, when the play gets extended, getting open. But as far as like getting open on a slant, everybody other than Kelsey pretty much struggles to get open. So
they don't have any pure route running guys.
No, which this is just a thought that just entered my mind. We were just talking about Stephon Diggs and T. Higgins here. I'm not saying that they might go to Kansas City, but Kansas City's one position that they're pretty rough on offense is definitely wide receiver.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to see Stephon Diggs with Patrick Mahomes, because that would be a filthy duo.
Yeah.
But I think either way, I think the Bengals win this game if Patrick Mahomes is anything less than 100%. If he's 100%, and I think it's a coin flip then.
Yeah.
And
shout out to the NFL on that coin flip.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But either way, I think this is an offensive shootout. I don't think the Chiefs' defense can hang with the Bengals, and I think a healthy Patrick Mahomes tears up the Bengals. But again, the likelihood of him being 100% healthy is extremely, extremely small.
Yeah, I agree. High ankle sprains are not fun. So then I think we're both kind of on the same side of Bengals 49ers for Super Bowl.
Bengals 49ers Super Bowl. I have 49ers coming out on top on that. I think that the Bengals' offensive line woes are scary against every team
Yeah.
if it's not the 49ers. Like, very scary.
Yeah.
And when you put
Bosa.
put Nick Bosa against whoever, Bosa could legitimately put up like 12 pressures in a game. Like, I don't know how many sacks he'll have because Burrow's very good at getting the ball away, but he might just be throwing the ball away because he doesn't want to get smoked for the 5th time by Bosa. Like,
yeah, I'd have the 49ers too. I think the 49ers weapons on offense and the Bengals weapons on offense are very similar. I think obviously Burrow is a much better quarterback. It would solely come down to if the Bengals were able to get it in the hands of their playmakers.
Yeah.
Before the defensive line gets home.
Yep. No, I do think as well, kind of what we saw out of Jacksonville against the Chargers in the second half, is that if you are getting pressure that early consistently, you were able to scheme around saying, I dare you to beat us deep.
Yeah.
Because when you are unable to beat them deep, not because you can't throw it, or not because you can't hit it, but because you cannot get to the point to throw it, it's going to be nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Now I will say though, Trey Hendrickson has been huge. Part of the Bengals. Look at how many pressures he had against Josh Allen. I mean, it was like you could rush 3, and Hendrickson was probably going to get there. Yeah. He will not do that against Trent Williams.
No.
Micah Parsons could not do that against Trent Williams.
No, Micah Parsons got bottled up that game.
He did.
That was unbelievable.
It was a masterclass by Trent Williams.
Yeah.
He's showing his best left tackle in the league, and as if we didn't know that, he said he's
reminded us.
Yeah, he just reminded us that not only is he the best, he's like he's saying I'm up there all time.
Yeah. He's by far the best.
Yeah. There's nobody on the same planet as him. I mean, it is insane. We talk about how good Micah Parsons is. Well, I'll tell you what, it probably helps me to go with Nick Bosa every day in practice.
Yeah, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, for sure there. But either way, final Super Bowl for score prediction. I think this one's probably going to be a little bit low scoring. Super Bowls are always kind of just tighter. I would say like a 27-20, 27-24 would be kind of what I lean to.
I think if it's Bengals 49ers, I would probably go with 31-28. I think 49ers come out on top on the 31-28.
Gotcha. All right. That's pretty much all we have here. Who do you think gets Super Bowl MVP? Do you think Brock Purdy comes away with it?
No. I think Christian McCaffrey would win it.
Yeah.
Or if Bosa has a game like we think that he could, I could even see him giving it to Bosa.
Yeah. Which I don't think a defensive player's ever won it. Well, it's pretty much every year the quarterback.
Yeah.
Because if you think about, what has to happen, if you want to give it to a wide receiver or a tight end, the quarterback gets everything that they get too. So if a wide receiver has a great game, did Kupp get it last year?
I think he did.
Did Kupp get it last year?
I think it was
okay. Kupp did go off last year.
Yep. It looks like the most recent defender to win it was Dexter Jackson of the Buccaneers.
What is that? Super Bowl 37?
Yep.
Wow.
Intercepted Rich Gannon twice in the first half.
Okay.
And they steamrolled them 48-21. So the quarterback didn't really need to do anything.
No. Yeah, we could see Bosa getting it. I don't think Purdy gets it. I do think McCaffrey probably gets it as well.
Yep.
I did see somebody put, I think it might have been $100 down to now for George Kittle. To win Super Bowl MVP, and a tight end has never won it. And if you're looking at the tight ends left or the teams left, and you're gonna take a tight end to win it, I would probably lean Travis Kelce. Now, honestly, Travis Kelce, because Kelce probably won't make it, and even if he does, you're playing against.
Well, even if Kelce does make it, I think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, there's no shot that they
wouldn't give it to Mahomes just because they love Mahomes so much.
Kittle's ability just to be playing with the worst quarterback remaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
He could have a chance.
I don't know. Purdy's top 2 in the league, I would say. So, but
top 2 in the NFC left.
Yeah. Mr. Irrelevant is now relevant, though, and we will definitely have some more come in here. We'll have definitely an episode after the conference championship round here, and we will also have some season recap stuff, some off-season stuff, some mock draft stuff. A ton of stuff going forward. Just sticking in the NFL. Obviously, we got more coming in the NBA and some other things there as well. But any closing comments here?
I don't got anything.
I don't have anything either. So this was the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys.